She grew up in the area. She's a fifth-generation Michigander. She's a personal friend of mine. She's running against Debbie Stabenow to help us take the U.S. Senate seat back to the Republican Party. Ladies and gentlemen, Lena Epstein.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm so happy to be here tonight. My name is Lena Epstein. I was born and raised in Bloomfield Township, a lifelong resident of Bloomfield Township. In fact, my parents still live a stone's throw from here, where we moved in 1986. And I am a resident of the township with my husband, Eric, and we will be Michigan residents long after I serve in the Senate and come back to the private sector. I wanted just to take a little bit of opportunity to tell you about me as a person, as a citizen, and then talk a little bit about what compelled me to run. And I'm looking around this room, I'm seeing so many friends, and it makes me feel right at home. I'm 36 years old, as I mentioned, born and raised in the township. I went to Detroit Country Day and then had the opportunity had the opportunity to study economics at Harvard from 1999 to 2003. And then because of some family circumstances, I had the opportunity to take over my family business. And Vesco Oil stands for Victor Epstein Silverman and Company. It's a business started by three best friends, my grandfather and his two best buddies. And the company will be 70 years old this October, the same month that our daughters do. And I don't think that there's any coincidence about that. It's a beautiful family business, and one that has taken great love and care and nurture over these 70 years. And it's the goal of our family to perpetuate the business for many, many generations to come, and to continue to create jobs across the state. In the 15 years that I've run the business, Vesco Oil has doubled in size. We are now one of the largest distributors of petroleum products for major distribution oil suppliers in the country. But most importantly, we service small businesses across the state. We service the farmers across the state of Michigan. We service every county in the Lower Peninsula. And as a business owner, I have had every job in the company. When I was in high school, I was the janitor. I rode on the trucks. I wanted to have a truck route myself, but I wasn't strong enough to pull the hose. So I had to do the ride-alongs. One thing that I learned very early on is that it was not the government's job to create jobs. It was our job as the business owner, as the business provider, to do that. And as I became more and more involved in Vesco, the more concerned I've become on behalf of all businesses in Michigan and all citizens. We are in a climate, for anybody that's in business or hired by a business, we are in a climate that makes it very, very prohibitive for businesses to be successful and for businesses to grow. Whether that's issues of overtaxation, we could spend hours talking about each one of these issues. But whether it's issues of overtaxation, overregulation, a broken healthcare system, I have watched, to my dismay, since the recession in 08 and 09, I have watched businesses crumble. We have seen 100-year-old businesses have to close their doors because they couldn't pay the crippling price of a broken healthcare system. They couldn't afford the regulatory issues in their business, and they certainly couldn't face the overtaxation. Worst of all, the companies that I've been around in the last 15 years have been stymied in their ability to grow. So entrepreneurs have been crippled by their ability to invest, hire new people, grow an infrastructure. I was totally apolitical up until 2010. And it wasn't until I got to Harvard, the most liberal university in the country, that I came to terms with my conservative roots. I've always been a conservative, but as somebody from the Southeast Jewish community, I never asked the question why. Why does the Jewish community vote so often in a Democratic bloc? And this has been a major concern of mine as a member of the Jewish community, a proud member of the Jewish community. But it wasn't until I got to college and I was free to think on my own and I was surrounded with such diversity that I started to question what it meant to be a Republican, what it meant to be a conservative. And I came to terms that there was never a change inside of me. I just came to terms that I've always been a conservative. And when I came home and I started running the business, I could no longer sit on my hands anymore. And in 2010, through a Google search, I found my way to the Republican Party. I Googled Republican Party. I didn't know any person in the Republican Party or the conservative movement. And so I'm a living testament 7 years later that any single one of us in this country that is passionate about being involved, that wants to have a voice, that wants to make a difference, can stand up and eventually run for office. And here I am running for the United States Senate 7 years later. In this last 7 years, in addition to running a business, getting married, obviously a beautiful baby on the way, I had the opportunity to get more involved in the Oakland County Republican Party. Jim Teenel asked me to chair the dinner in 2012, and we had Rick Santorum and Ann Romney, and turned the dinner from 400 people to 1,500 people. Thank God, because Rick Santorum kind of swept the West a few days before our dinner. But it really put Oakland County on the map, and all eyes were watching. I was one of President Trump's earliest supporters when there were 20 people on the stage. I was met with tremendous resistance, both within my family, my friend block, my neighborhood, my business. It was a tremendous risk. But I knew that I couldn't sit on my hands any longer. And of all the 20 people on the stage at that time, President Trump, or then candidate Trump, represented to me the person that could get most or a lot of things done that he was committing to getting done. So I was asked to be his statewide co-chair, and we as a state we went red for the first time since '88. It's a massive achievement. And this was done by tens of thousands, and I saw the power in the grassroots. And the power of the grassroots is what is going to help us unseat Debbie Stabenow in 2018. It's going to be a very, very exciting race. The grassroots are activated. I travel the state every day now as a candidate, traveled it for 15 years as a business owner, traveled it as the Trump co-chair, but now I see the power in the grassroots. We have the power to inform elections. We're going to do that again. And it will be an uphill battle against an established woman who has been in office for 43 years. And my message to Debbie Stabenow is, respectfully, ma'am, it's time to come home to work a private sector job. Let's trade places. Let's trade places so that you can see the effects of your voting record and how it affects the actual citizens that you have theoretically looked over the last 43 years. I am unapologetically pro-life. I am strongly in support of the Second Amendment. I am here to answer your questions. I am a woman of deep faith, and I believe that this is a God-inspired race. I look forward to serving as your next United States Senator. I will give it all I've got. And if elected, I will be the youngest woman to have ever served in the United States Senate in American history. This will set new precedent for not just women, but for every single person in this country. Our party stands for opportunity. Our party is the party of more, not less. We are going to use the right messages to engage all Michiganders, regardless of R or D next to a name. We have heard from over 30 states since we announced on May 22nd. The people are excited about our campaign and our race. So I am just ecstatic to be here. I wish I could stay longer. We have some big news coming out tonight. I'll be on TV probably for several hours, but most importantly, I'm happy to be here with you and to answer any questions you have. My name is Lena Epstein. I'm running for the United States Senate. I look forward to serving you. I do not want to be a career politician. I'd like to serve 1 or 2 terms to get the heck back to the private sector. And please look me up at lenaforsenate.com. We have gone viral. We have a strong social media presence, an awesome campaign team, and this is going to be the grassroots effort of a lifetime. God bless you. Thank you.
Here's some questions. I want to ask the first one, if I may.
Sure.
In Michigan, as you know, back in 2008, we legalized in our state constitution medical marijuana. There's now a petition drive probably to legalize marijuana across the board, recreational, whatever. In Michigan, what do you think federal drug policy should be, whether it's just in terms of a marijuana policy or a federal drug policy, either one?
That's a great question. So personally, I am in favor of medical marijuana. I am not in favor of the criminalization of marijuana.
Not in
And
favor of the criminalization.
I am not in favor of the criminalization of marijuana.
Do you think it should be decriminalized?
I think it should be decriminalized, yes.
Okay. Tom Llewellyn.
Hi, Tom.
Our current senator says she wants to protect the Great Lakes, and her second mission in life is to sink anything associated with this Trump administration.
Yes.
What would be the priorities in your campaign?
Sure, so my campaign platform is fairly simple, and you can find everything at lenaforsenate.com. The first thing that I said, I made a very early announcement my first week as a declared candidate to simplify our tax code. Lower taxes across every income bracket by 10%, and I will support President Trump's America First policies, which includes a 15% income tax on businesses across the board. Secondly, I've been very, very, very vocal about defunding sanctuary cities. We must, we must, we must, we must, we must. I will be tirelessly working against this. And I will continue to support the President's America First agenda. That doesn't make me a rubber stamp to the President, but I do stand behind his policies. Another thing that we've been talking a lot about is health care. And the health care debate is going to look a lot different in a year and a half from now. God willing, please God, this will have been settled and we will be on to another debate. But I am in favor of repealing Obamacare once and for all. We said in 2016 that the system's broken. I can tell you as a business owner and a wife and a mother-to-be, it is broken, and I will work fervently to make sure that it is fully, fully repealed.
Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, glad to see you.
Glad to see you too.
In respect to sanctuary cities,
Yes.
I wanted a follow-on question, and that is that our campuses of our public colleges and universities, they enjoy a special status as untouchables. And they have what are declared to be sensitivity zones wherein the authorities cannot go even if they know that there are illegals that should be deported and so forth. And I'm just wondering, what is your opinion and what might you consider to change this status of our public universities?
I'm very concerned about what I see in public universities. I'm very concerned about the general political correctness zone. I've heard very, very horrific tales about what is going on across universities. As a candidate for federal office, I think the first question is what will be in my purview as a United States Senator and what will be at the statewide level to decide. But I can say that anything in my power as a future U.S. Senator to undo the effects of what is happening on college campuses, I would do. But a lot of that is going to be happening at the statewide level. And I would defer to our speaker to answer some more of those questions later, because that will be a statewide issue. When I was in college, there were no safe zones. When I was in college, you didn't get a runner-up sticker. This is a very competitive world. We are competing in a global economy. We need tough kids prepared to compete. And we need to enforce that culturally across our campuses in this great country, particularly in the state of Michigan.
Burge.
Our country is wonderful, and a standpoint we've got a Republican form of government.
Hi, Burge. How are you?
Nothing. We have several different branches of government, different levels of government. We have the federal government, we have the state government, we have municipal governments. There has been an increasing creep of the federal government.
Yes.
Throughout the years.
Yes.
And
Fast creep.
What do you see that you can do to curtail and possibly reverse that creep?
It's the best question of the night so far. I love all the questions. So this is one thing that I'm extraordinarily passionate about. I spent time with Senator Lee, Senator Sass, and Senator Paul a couple of weeks ago in D.C. Senator Mike Lee from Utah sat me down in his office and pointed to tens of thousands of pieces of paper. He does this for the optics. Printed pieces of paper of laws written into law by non-elected bureaucrats. And he said, what we have to do is lift the hood of the federal government. We have to expose the truth about what's actually going on. So the first thing that I'll do as a United States Senator is continue to open up the hood and tell the public about what's going on. Are we all aware that there are tens of thousands of pieces of paper written into law by non-elected bureaucrats every single day. Do we all know that? Now this is a very informed and educated voting bloc. We are activists. We are concerned citizens. I don't think that most of America has a chance to know that. We have a bloated, inflated federal government that does no longer serve the people. That is the opposite of what I stand for. And so the first step will be exposure, and then letting the people decide how they want to let that be handled.
Paul Jaros.
Lena, you mentioned repealing Obamacare. What, if anything, would you replace it with?
Yeah, so right now, the House has passed a bill, and I want to make it very clear that I'm proud of our president for staying on top of this issue. He committed to repealing Obamacare. I'm proud that our elected officials are working hard on a solution, and in the next day or two, please stay tuned to messaging coming out of my campaign calling for elected officials at the federal level to work throughout the summer to get this done. Okay, that'll be my first order of business.
Let's do this. Let's do it with the gentleman in the back of the plaid shirt and then the lady up
Can I
here.
further finish answering the question?
Yeah.
Would that be all right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So that would be my first order of business is we're not done, no recess. We have to stay at work. Our premiums have gone up at this across the country over 93%. There are some states that have one and soon to be no options on the healthcare exchange. So I'm calling on our elected officials, and I'm doing this a little bit early now tonight. I'm calling on our federal elected officials to work through this summer and get this done. The American people don't just need it, we demand it. So that's the first order of business. When it comes to the bill that's on the floor, I respectfully think that it's not conservative enough. And I still support our president. I support the House in their efforts to find a solution, but it is not conservative enough. And I do stand with Rand Paul and Senator Sass and Senator Lee and Senator Cruz and those individuals that have stood up and said it's not quite right. We've got to get it right, but I'm calling on everyone to work through the summer. I'm sorry to my friends in the Senate and the House. They are going to have a very, very hard-working summer.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Jeff Tillman.
Good to see you, Jeff. Yes, I think we met before.
From the other side of the state, and on behalf of my hometown, Fremont, Michigan, where Gerber Baby Foods,
Yes.
thank you for doing what you're doing with the baby.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
In your opening comments, you mentioned that you were 1 or 2 terms, and then you're headed back home.
Yes, sir.
Would you be willing to sign a term limits pledge to that regard?
Absolutely. Did you bring one tonight? I would be happy to sign it.
Great.
I have to read it first. Absolutely. Please.
You, ma'am.
Hi.
I'm glad you brought that. Thank you.
You bet.
Hi. My name is Joey Botter.
Joey?
Yes.
Nice
hi.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm a homeschooling mother.
God bless you.
Yes, I'm here.
God bless you for
Um,
doing that.
We have great concern. We're not in the public school system, but we do pay attention because what happens there will affect us. Snyder, our governor,
Yes.
he is embracing the P through 20 education, ultimately cradle to grave,
Yes.
which is also being pushed by the federal government.
Yes.
We have very serious concerns about that because it takes away privacy rights of our children and their choices, and it peg holds them like right from the beginning, right from birth, and it'll happen to your little one too if we don't stop it.
Yes.
So we would like to know, are you aware and do you have any stance on it and what your plans might be to fight for our rights to keep our privacy for our children and their choices on what they want to do in life and not to be pegged into this because the government thinks it's what's best.
You said that beautifully. I don't even need to say anything. I'm in full agreement with what you said, but to further articulate, I'm strongly in favor of school of choice. I believe in competition, and I also believe that families are the best equipped to make those decisions for their children. And we might look at homeschooling for our daughter. We haven't even crossed that bridge. But let me just say one thing. I'm going to add something. I have friends that work in the public school system in Southeast Michigan and are afraid, or this is something for us to all think about, are afraid to divest from the union even though there is an option because they are afraid of bullying by their peers and by their boss, the principal. This is a major, major issue. So I'm strongly in favor of school of choice for a lot of reasons, so that families have the agency to choose what's best for their kids, so that schools are forced to be more competitive. And I'm very, very concerned culturally, how can we support those that have choice to exercise it as far as pulling out of the union? This is something that we don't talk about, but we need to bring forward. We need to help those people, especially the teachers that don't want to be part of the union anymore.
Dennis?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Lena, thank you for coming here tonight, and it was interesting your answer to what.
I'll have time for one more question after Dennis.
What Bear said. But I have this question regarding whether it's drug policy she dealt with first, and then education, or the healthcare issue. You mentioned about the bill wasn't quite conservative enough. Do you find in your study of the Constitution any authority for the federal government to be involved in healthcare? And as a United States Senator, when you take the oath of office, will you then use that as your guide? So if something is unconstitutional, even if it's popular or the president might like it or somebody else might like it, will you vote against all unconstitutional actions that come before you?
The Constitution is my guide today. The Constitution was my guide yesterday. The Constitution will be my guide as a United States Senator. There is no place written into the Constitution that we must provide health care. So I will be a constitutionalist unapologetically. Time for one more question, and then I'm going to have to go.
Yes, Lena, I work with State Senator Jack Brandenburg.
Yes, yes. Tell me your name, please.
Ken Matteo.
Good to see you, Ken.
I work with State Senator Jack Brandenburg, and the Democrats are hammering us in the legislature right now.
Yes.
With calls about stop Obamacare, repeal, we need Obamacare, and everybody's hitting us with the same issue, pre-existing conditions.
Yes.
Obviously, we have an answer to why you can't have general insurance handling pre-existing conditions, but that's going to be what you're going to be heading for in the election, and Debbie Stabenow is definitely going to hammer you with that in the debate. How are you prepared to handle that? Because that's the issue, which I don't hear any articulation from our side on that, and that's where they're hammering us.
The most concerning part of this whole conversation is that we've had 7 years to articulate it as a party, to articulate it as a community, and we have failed to do so. I am not going to stand up here and misrepresent what anybody else has said. This issue is a very, very serious one. It's not one that can be answered with a simple, this should happen or that should happen. It's extraordinarily complex. How we define pre-existing conditions, how those conditions have been covered historically, and what we're going to do going forward. Here's one thing that is unequivocally true for our nation going forward. Whatever we do, our system must be sustainable. And what we have right now is unsustainable as it pertains to pre-existing conditions, as it pertains to areas outside of pre-existing conditions. I challenge those in office right now to come to a bill that's measured and balanced. And I want us all to be working from the same set of facts.
Well said.
Very
Thank you
good.
so very much.
Thank you so much. I look forward, if I haven't met with you tonight and you'd like to talk more, please contact us at info@lenaforsenate.com. That's info@lenaforsenate.com. I will be a very accessible candidate. We have a long road ahead. I look forward to visiting with all of you. God bless you, and I hope to earn your vote by August and then in November of 2018. Thank you.